Alright guys, welcome back to the workshop. So this is the first time I've actually stepped foot in the workshop for the last 2 weeks. Those of you that didn't watch my last video regarding the incident that occurred with my wife recently, I would advise going to check the video out. It's not an easy video to watch, but there's some really important information which I wanted people to kind of benefit from. Right, so quite a few people in the comments on my last video actually asked me to keep you updated on my wife's progress. So for anyone that doesn't want to watch this part of the video, you might want to skip forward a little bit and watch the main video. But for those of you that are interested in hearing how my wife's doing now, then keep watching. So after the seizure, they took her in and straight away they done a brain scan and they found what they thought was cysts in the brain, which sounds really scary. But apparently loads of people develop cysts within the brain and they can live their entire life without actually knowing they've got the cysts. So they were pretty sure it was cysts and it wasn't anything cancerous, which in a way was really good news. So this happened on a Friday. The next couple of days were I was in a really bad headspace, along with everyone else in my family and my wife. By Monday, she was actually walking about in the hospital, able to go out for fresh air, and I was in a much better headspace, as was everyone else in the family. And then first thing Monday morning, I got a phone call from the wife to say that during the various x-rays and ultrasounds on her entire body, they'd actually found something in her lung and on her liver, which to them looked like cancer. So as you can imagine, we were all absolutely devastated. But at this point, I knew that I had to try and keep positive, and even the wife has been fairly positive. So she was in there for a week overall, and during the course of the week she had various ultrasounds and x-rays, and they were trying to work out the best way to do a biopsy either from her lung or her liver. And during one of the ultrasounds on her liver, because they thought that might be the easiest way to get a biopsy, turns out they couldn't find anything on the liver. So that ended up being really great news. However, there is still something on the lung. Now, although at first they said it looked like cancer, now they're not sure. They said it just could be another cyst, because my wife does actually suffer with abscesses quite a lot. So they think it could well be a cyst, but until they've done a biopsy, they're not going to know. So we've all got our fingers crossed. We're thinking positive and hoping that it's something simple that can be dealt with antibiotics or whatever. So she's got to go into hospital this Saturday for a COVID test, and then on the following Tuesday she's going in to have the biopsy done. So we're hoping it's nothing, and if it is the dreaded C, then we hope they've caught it early enough. Now, if it is the dreaded C, this seizure could have been a blessing in a way. Although it was a really scary situation, maybe my wife wouldn't have known about her lung if she hadn't have had the seizure. So in a roundabout way, it could be a positive thing. So until Tuesday, me and the wife have actually decided to quarantine ourselves in the house, because we don't want to take any chances. Because obviously if she ends up with COVID, then she can't have the biopsy, and then it's going to be put on hold and we're going to be waiting a lot longer. So we're taking no chances whatsoever, and hopefully on Tuesday when she has a biopsy, hopefully it won't be too long, and fingers crossed it's good news. but either way, we'll get through it hopefully. So that is how she's doing. She's feeling better in herself. The only problem she has still got is the pain in her ribs. Now that could have been from the CPR that I done. Like I say, she feels like one of her ribs is broken, although it didn't say they were broken, and none of the doctors actually said they were broken, but probably just badly bruised. But yeah, that is the score. So until she's had the biopsy on Tuesday, we're kind of just keeping our fingers crossed that everything works out all right. And for the first week after she come out, I was kind of paranoid to even leave her in the house and come in the workshop. Hence why I've not been in here for 2 weeks. But she's assured me she's going to be fine. I will be going in and checking up on her during this video. So that's about it until Tuesday. Right, so in front of me I have 2 large boxes. As you can see, it's from Axminster Tools and Machinery here in the UK. This is the next part of my dust extraction setup, and this is actually the item that I've been waiting for what seems like an absolute eternity, because just as I'd got the money for this, they sold out and it went on back order only. So initially it said 12 weeks. Got all the way down to 1 week, then went back up to 2 weeks, then went back down to a week, then it was within a week, then it went back up to 8 weeks, but a few weeks into that, it actually come back in stock, and I was really excited. It did cost a lot of money. I wasn't gifted this, I have used my own money to purchase this. It is quite expensive for what it is, but I think it's going to be ideal for my small workshop. So what we're going to do in this video is get it out of the box. I'll show you the item itself up close, talk through some of the specifications, and that's about it. Right, so in the box, or one of the boxes, you get your cartridge filter. In the second box you get the actual motor itself. Get a handle which turns the paddles inside the filter and knocks any loose dust out to keep it cleaner. You get a quite heavy metal wall mounting bracket, which is really quite substantial, which is what you need because this thing is quite heavy. Another part of the bracket, and then you get your bag which has your instructions, nuts, bolts, and the strap that actually holds the bag onto the filter. Right, so I'll quickly go over the specifications on the machine, and while I'm doing that I'll give you a close-up of all the components and we go from there. So the model is the Axminster AT50E, and this is the trade rated version, and the reason I've gone for the trade rated machine is because this one comes with the cartridge filter as opposed to the cheaper one that comes with the bag. The power is 750 watts, 230 volts. It's single phase, 50 hertz. Now this is where it gets a little bit confusing, because when you're looking at the specifications on the Axminster website, it states it's 1,000 cubic meters per hour of airflow, but on the machine itself and in the booklet it states it's 912 cubic meters an hour airflow. So I'm not sure why Axminster say it's 1,000 when it's nearer to 900. Noise level is 75 decibels, and I'll test that out a bit later in the video. The particle size the filter filters down to is 1 micron. The hose is 100 millimeters, And although this machine actually retails at close to 450 quid, you don't actually get a hose with the machine, so you've got to buy that separate. And in my opinion, that's a little bit disappointing, because if you're spending 450 odd pound on an extractor, it would have been nice for them to include a short length of hose, but they don't do that. So if you're purchasing this machine, you then have to go out and buy a hose separately, which, like I've said, is a bit annoying. But as this was the only one with the cartridge filter that's wall mountable, you don't really get a lot of choice. The bag capacity is 50 litres, and again it's a bit disappointing because you only get the one bag. It would have been nice to get at least two, but you only get a single bag. And the weight of the actual machine and the filter is 27 kilograms, so it is fairly heavy. And although the cable looks like good quality cable, it's not very long. It measures roughly 1.7 meters in length, so really short. I can never understand why manufacturers put such short cables on their machines. So to attach the handle, you've got a 10mm bolt on the side, and all you've got to do is push that on the shaft, get your spanner and just tighten that down. And what that does is move the flappers around. I'm going to call them flappers, the paddles or whatever you want to call them, and that clears the dust from the filter. So you can only turn the handle clockwise, and that shifts the plastic paddles, and that's to shake all the loose dust off of the filter. Can't do it anti-clockwise because you'll see it all kind of pushes the whole mechanism out of line, so you can only turn this in a clockwise motion. Now the paddles themselves are actually flexible plastic. All the rest of this, the gears, the shafts, brackets, everything is metal. So assembling it is really straightforward. There's not really a lot to do. On the top side of the cartridge filter, you've got a gasket. The only thing you really need to pay attention to is where the handle's located. If you're putting it in right in a corner, you don't want to find out you've got the handle right on the side where the wall is, and then you can't obviously fit it on the wall and turn the handle. So make sure you know roughly where you want the handle located, and then it really is as simple as putting that on. I'm going to put it on this way round. It is heavy, probably would be easier with two people, but there's only one of me. There's just a case of lining your holes up. It should be fairly straightforward. Again, it's 10mm bolts, so might take a little bit of jiggery pokery. So it's probably a good idea to get all the bolts in, but don't tighten them all, and that way you can make sure it's centered correctly on the gasket, and then you can go ahead and do them all up properly. So the final stages would be to attach the wall mounted bracket and then put the bag on, which is secured with this aluminium strap with the clamping mechanism on. I'm not going to actually do that because I'm not actually going to be fitting it to the wall in this video. I will show you where the bracket goes on, but I just want to explain how the bracket itself works. So this is your bracket, really thick, heavy duty, which is what you want, flat on this side, and this is the side that gets fitted to the extractor. Back side, you've got these bent sections on both the top and the bottom. So imagine that's fitted to the back of the extractor. This piece is what goes on the wall, and you'll see there's a slight bend in it. So where the holes are, that gets pushed tight against the wall, and then the top is bent away from the wall. So it's basically like a French cleat. And you'll also see there's a cutout on the top. So once the bracket's in place, it can't slide off. So once you've got your extractor fitted to the bracket, this piece will just hook onto that, and it can't slide off either way, and that is how it fits to the wall. So at least then, if you need to take it down for whatever reason, it's simple enough to do. You just got to make sure that this is securely fastened to the wall, and I'm not 100% sure where I'm putting it yet, or exactly how I'm going to attach it to the wall, which is why I'm not doing it in this video. So attaching the wall mounted bracket is a simple process. You should have 4 short 10mm bolts left over after you fitted the filter to the extractor. Now don't do what I did the first time. I put because these are threaded inserts, or threaded holes rather, and I actually wound the nuts in and thought they went through from this side, but the holes are actually slightly bigger on this bracket. So obviously the bolts go from the back through into this. So to make it a bit easier, I've laid the extractor down, and hopefully I should be able to line these up. If I get them in the right. So that's basically the machine ready to go on the wall. It's actually bigger than I thought it was going to be, and it's definitely on the weighty side. Overall, quite impressive. So in the manual it states it's 75 decibels. Now the app that I'm using was a free downloadable app. I have no idea how accurate it is. And the extractor is dumped on my workbench, and the phone was placed right next to it on the bench, so it could have been picking up things like vibration. So it's probably not the best test to do, but at the end of the day, it's a dust extractor, so it's going to be fairly noisy. So that's the AT50E trade rated wall mounted dust extractor from Axminster Tools and Machinery. So I think I've covered everything. If I've missed anything or you've got a question, then feel free to leave your question in the comment section and I'll do my best to get back to you. I do usually like to reply to all my comments. I didn't do that on the last couple of videos, mind, because I've had a hell of a lot going on, so I apologise for that. But yeah, if you want to know anything, just leave it in the comments and I'll do my best to get back to you. So once I've got it on the wall, I will let you see it in all its glory. So until the next video, stay safe and you'll see me in the next one. Cheers for watching, guys.